Anthony Brogdon. I'm from Detroit. Flew in yesterday to Atlanta, got to rent a car, got on the road this morning, came up here. And then I leave here, I'm in Savannah after this, and then I'm in St. Helena Island for the Gullah Geechee Festival. And then after that, I'm speaking at a church in Crescent, Georgia. And it's been 2 years since I kind of started this journey, so to speak. But prior to that, I've always been the kind of guy that was, like doing events and writing and business type stuff in the Detroit area. And I stumbled across these facts that there were black folks that were rich in the 1800s. And I said, wow, nobody ever told me that. So some of the names that we hear, you understand when you hear the Harriet Tubmans, you hear the Frederick Douglasses, you hear the Malcolm X, the Dr. King. In Georgia, you hear of Abernathy and so many others. But you don't hear some of those rich black folk that even as enslaved black folk, they were able to keep some of the money that the enslaver made. So let me tell you how that happened. So, let me back up. So when I found that out, I was like, man, and I've been a business guy for all my days. I just never did have a job per se. And when I found that out, I was like, man, they never told me this. I knew of Frederick Douglass, but how did Frederick Douglass make a living? Frederick Douglass had that newspaper, the North Star, right? I didn't put the 2 and 2 together. You had to get a subscription to the North Star to get it. It wasn't free. He charged people an honorarium to speak. He couldn't just go around free. I'm sure there was a bunch of free things that he did do, but that's how he made a living. And if you ever go to Washington, D.C., he got a big mansion in the Anacostia district, just on the other side of the river, sitting on top of the hill. Frederick Douglass did. How did Harriet Tubman make money? Well, Harriet Tubman always had to pick up little odd jobs when she was on the run doing things, because she got to eat and survive herself. But see, I never thought that far down the road. I just thought of them as speakers and Underground Railroad conductors and so on and so forth. And there's so many more names like that I just had not heard. And really what I want people to get out of that is to understand that no matter what is the circumstances in the world or in the U.S., there are going to be people like us that's going to overcome those. How you overcome enslavement? You got this guy, he's your enslaver, he's telling you what to do all the time, how to do it, when to wake up, what to eat, and everything. And you find a way to use that to your advantage. Let me give you an example. There's a guy named Frank McHorter. Frank McHorter is born in 1777, born enslaved. So Frank McHorter, see, not all the enslavers were farmers. Somebody had to build the houses that the people lived in. Frank McHorter's enslaver, that's what he did. He was a construction company owner. So he built the houses. Well, I got this guy, Frank, that he do what I tell him to do. So Frank, let me tell you what I want you to do. I want you to go there. I want you to find out how much wood I need to build that house, how much it's going to cost me and everything. Frank said, no problem. Frank got so good at it that Frank talked to the guy and said, hey, man, I know you charge the people a little bit of money. I'm doing all the work. Can I keep some of it? The guy got a little compassion because the one thing that we don't understand is not all enslavement was beat down all the time. There was a whole bunch of different gray area circumstances because there were people like us that lived back then. That some of us said, hey, I'm not going to be beating my people. I'm not going to dysfunction the family. Frank McHorter's guy was like that. So he allowed Frank to keep some of the money. Frank made so much money, and this is the other thing that we don't know, is that there were enslaved black people who bought their freedom. The enslaver would say, I mean, it wasn't no particular amount, man, for $1,000, I'll let you go free. Give you that card so you can walk around here with no problem. Frank's guy said that to him. Frank bought his freedom and the freedom of 18 other people. They nicknamed him Free Frank. Bad dude. So Franklin Horton leaves the plantation. He moves to Illinois. He buys land in a town called New Philadelphia, Illinois. He's the first black to incorporate his own town. Hey, it's my town. I'm the mayor. And then what he did was, and people do this today, he sold plots of land to other black people in his town and became very wealthy at it. 1777. Boy, it was that bad. How did other people like that? There's a guy named Julius Groves. Julius Groves lives in Kansas. This is the 1800s. He's a farmer, potato man. He's got the soil is rich. He's got his own ingredients and ways to farm and harvest them potatoes. He becomes a millionaire in those terms. Let me tell you, Madam C.J. Walker was not the very first. She was flamboyant. She had money. She had $1 million worth of money. But there were people in those days who could be considered a millionaire of their time. Julius Groves was one of them. His potatoes were so tasty, so big, so nice, and so scrumptious that he became very, very wealthy. And they called him the Potato King of America over anybody, black or white. This is in Kansas. My man is so bad now he starts associations, he's got a bank, he's got a grocery store. And in many instances, those brothers and sisters who were very wealthy and who did those kind of things will become abolitionists. They fight against the cause of slavery. Julius Groves is another one of them. There's a lady by the name of Mary Ellen Pleasant. A lot of sisters was jamming back then. Them sisters, when we get it, they get it too. Mary Ellen Pleasant moved out to Oklahoma territory and so on and so forth. She's got laundry mats. You know, I mean, they hand washing them, but still, you can understand the concept. She's got other people working in her laundry mats. She buys land. They find gold or oil or something on her land. She becomes a multi-millionaire of her day. And I'm going to go through some more names. But let me divert from that. One of the things that I had to understand is how do we get education? You can't talk about being self-employed per se without having some sense of education, how to put stuff on paper, how to do your books, how to price things out. We taught ourselves in many instances. If you know a word, and I'm sitting around the campfire and you see it, and particularly in the Bible, you teach me what that word is. Then you teach me a little bit more of what you know. I pass it along to somebody else. Somebody else tells me, oh, I know what this means. I know what that means. And we put our life on the line because a lot of times the enslavers did not want us to get an education. Because if you get an education, you can write on the note, man, at 12:30, we're going to run. I don't want you to be able to communicate like that. But you know how bad and smart we were? Them sisters was braiding their hair and they were putting the signals in their braids. That was the trail in the hair. That was the trail on them songs that they were singing and those congos and those rhythms that they were singing. If you imagine some of the songs would be like, we live in that room. So they didn't want us to read and write. But there was a guy who he had a boat. See, because not all black people was enslaved at the time. You could be free. You could be free and your wife be enslaved and live in the same house. Did not know that. She go to work for the man, you got to get you another way because you are free. Because you can be free even in the South if your mom was free, if she got her freedom some way. And there was a lot of ways that people got their freedom. Some of it you could buy it. I didn't know that you could sue in court and get your freedom. They call them freedom lawsuits. And there were people who won because somebody captured them. They were already free. They like, I'm making you my slave. No, we're going to court over this. Because my mom is Cherokee Indian. and that means that I'm free. And they won in court. There would be lawyers who take their case. And we escaped not just through freedom lawsuits, but, through the Underground Railroad. And check this out. I'm giving y'all a lot, in a short period of time. I'm going to get back to this business thing. I'm going to try to give you all this right quick here. And there will be people who, if you live deep in the South like Louisiana, can you run all the way up north? It's a long way to go. But if you can get to Florida, you can be free. Florida was under the Catholic rule. If you could get to Florida, you could be free. Or if you couldn't get to none of them, you ran to the woods. They call them maroons. They would hide off in some of them swamplands, like Rosewood, Florida. You ever heard of that one? That's all it was, a swampland. And then they would tell the man, you come up in here, we're going to have a fight. You can't find us. And if you do, it's going to be ugly. You say, all right, go ahead. That's what Rosewood was. They did it all throughout that East Coast corridor, too. They would go to the woods, the maroon communities. I even asked somebody, said, well, what happened if you were enslaved on the island in Jamaica? That it ain't but this much land. We know where it's at. They ran up into the hills. The maroon community in Jamaica. See, the thing about it is we was always thinking, we was trying to figure out a way to make life better for ourselves and for our children and for those who came behind us. Those people put their lives on the lines for us to be able to have a museum in downtown Macon. I'm sure y'all can understand that 40 years ago, 50 years ago, this couldn't have been possible. It was on their backbones and people like that. That's the amazing thing. And because as what we do nowadays, as we grow and stuff like that, we make a way for others so that they can see how there's the possibilities. Spike Lee come along and he do these movies with shooters. Spike Lee can do it, I can do it. If them enslaved people can do it, then others can do it too. There's a guy named C.R. Patterson. C.R. Patterson was born enslaved. So now, okay, as I told you, not everybody was farmers. They told C.R. Patterson to go in the back and fix the horse and buggies. The wheel would come off, the strap would break, the seat would come off. C.R. Patterson, he's so bad, he would fix them up so well that he's like, yeah, okay, slavery ends. C.R. Patterson goes into business, fixing horse and buggies, right? Then C.R. Patterson gets married, got a couple kids, he got a son, Frederick Patterson, who was the first black graduate, one of the first at Central State in Ohio. Because C.R. Patterson leaves the southern area and moves up towards Ohio. Now he's in this horse and buggy, and now the cars are changing. And they become motorized in the 1905s and stuff like that. Henry Ford comes along. C.R. Patterson has his own car manufacturing company. It's called Greenfield Motors. He operated for 19 years, and he was beating Henry Ford. Because you know how we do with the brothers and sisters. We add little details and all kind of stuff make the car more look better. Ford wasn't doing but black cars. All of them were black in his day. My man cars look better. Probably had armrests to lean on and everything else. He was beating Henry Ford. Henry Ford knew of him. He went from enslavement to a car manufacturing company. His name is C.R. Patterson. So you give us an inch, a thought process, a dream that we can figure that nobody can stop us, despite whatever the circumstances are. We can make a way. Booker T. Washington was 25 years old when they made him president of Tuskegee Institute. Now, he's a brilliant guy. Builds up that institution, and all of a sudden he says, man, we're in about the 1900s, and there are black businesses all over America. So he starts in 1900, the National Business League. And he brings all these black business owners together, and they meet in conventions once a year, and they having newsletters. They're finding ways to support one another. And then he has all these other programs like let's pool our money together so that we can help others come along. Now, I've met people who've told me that their grandfather, great-grandfather, made a way because of what Booker T. Washington did. He did it for strangers. A lot of people have done it for strangers. To help somebody they don't know. Somebody who's going to talk about them behind their back. But I helped you. That's what this Black Chamber of Commerce does. Let me institute them right here. My man puts his life to help other people that don't know him. Don't talk about it. You can't even worry about that. You get a blessing in that. Them people got a blessing for what they did to help other people. Don't worry about what other folks say. Oh man, he think he too good. I'm sure that if you was a business owner back then, oh man, who he think he is? And I'm trying to help and show a way for other people. Let me give you an example of one of the really genius slave escapes. This guy, his name was Robert Smith. No, that ain't it. It'll come to me. He's working on the Confederate ship out of South Carolina. Working on who? Smalls, Robert Smalls. That's right. He's working on the Confederate ship. Because, like, again, I'm enslaved. You tell me what you want me to do. See, I'm working on the ship for the Confederate to fight against the North to help me. So he's working on the ship, but he see every now and then when they come in the port, them white guys would leave a little early, go off in the woods and play. He said, well, okay, let me see what we're going to do here. He said, he told the other guys on the boat, so next time they leave, we taking the boat. Now, he got to watch it, too, because he got to go past the South to get to Philadelphia. So he got to, sail the waters that are deeper than 9 and stones in the waters. He got to put on the captain's boat to give the signals to the Confederate people. My man, he steals the boat. He gets up north. He drops the boat off, and the folks is like, well, who is this? He said, he shakes their hand. He says, hey, man, the boat is yours. Let us go free. This ain't the end of his story. The guy's so bad, slavery ends. He goes back down south, becomes an elected politician in the school board. Robert Small. There's a black guy, this is 1800s. His name is William Leesdorf. William Leesdorf, his father was his enslaver. White guy, right? A lot of that was going on. That was his father. But he took a little liberty to, William, said, William, you work on my boat, in my business. I teach you the ropes and stuff like that. William was watching. He knows he's learning all this. So when he gets his freedom, because the northern troops come through, sets him free, he then leaves and he moves out to California. And at the time, California was owned by Mexico. He talks to the Mexican government and giving him 35,000 acres. Becomes a very wealthy guy. He owns the warehouse, the first hotel, and everything in the San Francisco area. They have a thing out there that they acknowledge William Leesdorf as the founder of San Francisco. Black man. Black man founded Chicago. Black man did come through Detroit and help find Detroit. He was on that boat when they were coming over there. They always brought their enslaved people. They get there and I might get off the boat first. I'm the first one to step on this piece of land. Y'all don't know what's out there. William Leesdorf. And there's so many of those kind of names. And that's what I talk about in the book. I give you the names. I don't give you no commentary. I don't want to tell you how I think about it. I just want the fact to stand on its own merit. Then I give you the reference section in the back. Tell you where I found the fact. Because it just blew my mind. There's a sister named Hannah Elias. Check this out. Hannah Elias, she's a good-looking lady, right? Probably got body and everything. Good-looking girl. So her parents disowned her. It might have been one of them kind of sisters, one of them situations. Hannah's so good-looking, and the other sister maybe not. I'm taking liberties there. So they don't let Hannah get the dress to go to the ball. Hannah goes out, she finds a dress somewhere with somebody else. She kind of takes it, puts it on, wears it to the ball, got to go home, you know, Cinderella kind of thing, maybe. So they kick her out the house. She got to go live in a I should say it for the kids, but a brothel is really what happened. So she go live in the brothel. White guy, rich white guy comes in the brothel, as you know, that might happen, right? He takes a liking to Hannah. He gives her a ton of money. She moves to New York. She buys a big house. She invests the money. At one point, Hannah Lice was the wealthiest black woman in America. She ain't squandered that money. All up in Harlem. She owns a lot of buildings and stuff like that. This is the early 1900s. And so then my man falls on hard times. His family gets wind of it. They sue her to get the money back. And lost. Hannah Lice. There's many names like that. You know, we can move up the timeline. One of the last names that I give you in the book is, you know, I got to get that man out of the D-Town. Barry Gordy. Motown. And what that brother did, because see, the little known secret is his father was a carpenter and he owned a grocery store. They were kind of well-to-do family anyway. Sisters and them were, you know, good-looking ladies in the high society and stuff like that. Barry he was working in the plant, in the automotive plant in Detroit. They thought he was a slacker more than anything. But Barry liked to write. So he writes this song, I can't think of the artist, but he writes the song becomes a hit. Look up and, you know, the little check Barry gets for the writing the song. Smokey Robinson says, Barry, you need to start your own record label. And in 1959, he started Tamala Records and some other names before it all came together to be Motown Records. There is no other record company in the history of music in America as glamorous as Motown. With TV and rights and the Motown's reviews and all that, how we used to see Motown, and Lord, predate me just a tad, for 50 Cent and Smokey Robinson and all those artists, how that music resonates today. He did that along with the others, the Smokies and other people that came along behind him. His dad was the one who actually did the construction on what is now Hitsfield Museum. You can't stop us. We can go from nothing to great heights. They went from enslavement, from being told what to wear, when to go to bed, what to sleep, when to sleep. I'm going to give you one more. There's a lady by the name of Elizabeth Keckley. Elizabeth Keckley, she was enslaved, and what happened was, and this leads into another part of the story. She was enslaved, but what happened is on the plantation, somebody got to fix the clothes. Hey, my pants falling off. I didn't lose weight. All right, she do a little alteration, put a belt buckle on there, do something to tighten the pants. Oh, my dress is, I lost buttons. Elizabeth fixed the dress. Elizabeth gets so good, now she adding her own touches to it. Now she's making her own dresses. She's really considered one of America's first black fashion designers. She getting so good that the enslaver, check this out, just that gray area, would allow her to go up north without her. You could travel without your enslaver. You could go up north. Now, where you going and what time you coming back? But I'll let you go. So she would go up north and see clients. Word had gotten out that Elizabeth Keckley, you got to get your dress made by her. You got to get your dress made by Elizabeth Keckley. So she would go up north, see her clients, so on and so forth. One of her clients becomes Abraham Lincoln's wife, Mary Todd Lincoln. And now she's running around that social circle, that elite social circle in New York, making them dresses. Becomes very wealthy. She buys her freedom, moves to New York, writes a book about her experience. You can't stop us if we do the work, if we believe. And I got a bunch of them, but let me tell you, this one is a crazy story. This is about a guy, this is his escape attempt. A man is down south, he sees all this brutality going on, and he sees that they're about to ship his wife and kids further down south. He's like, I had enough. Come up with this, let's call it a crazy idea. He builds a box